Do you know the fable of the frog and the scorpion?
Mm.
Well, this scorpion wants to get across the river. So he asks the frog if he'll give him a lift on his back, and the frog says, no, you'd sting me. And the scorpion says, why would I do that? Then we'd both drown. And so the frog said, oh, yes, that's true, okay. So halfway across the river, the scorpion stings the frog. And the frog says, now we're both going to die. Why did you sting me? And the scorpion says, because I'm a scorpion.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, I guess I can't change my nature.
No, you're the frog.
The frog?
Yes.
Really? Why?
Well, you knew you wouldn't enjoy that meditation thing, but you went anyway to please someone else. And then you got angry, and you even feel bad about that. You're the frog.
Right.
Sensitive and trusting.
Nothing to do with the shape. Or the throat. Oh, the frog. I was hoping I was the scorpion.
Yeah, I thought you would.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Only because it's cooler. I love frogs. But what I mean is, no one ever says, oh, I'd like a man. I'd like him to be sort of podgy and sticky. There. I'd like him to be able to hang on to a leaf. I'd like my man to be able to shove a worm into his mouth with his front feet.
What if it's more broad and wide scale than we think? This voice of God, the demons in your head, the voices that are telling you to kill. What if once you get into a certain state in your psychology, with enough trauma, with enough hatred, with enough self-loathing, with enough of a polluted past, you become a channel for something else to come through? I think that's where Larry and I came together. And I think that's why we became friends. Because, you know, towards the end where there were we have to start a coven, the Lamb of God types, we have to get money, we have to fund this. And, you know, from an outside source, from what he presented publicly, it just seems so greedy and money hungry. And I get that, because it is. But this is a man, God, y'all. You know, you're a Texan. You're moving to this place. You're surrounded by forests and trees and flowers and hippies, and you're used to growing up in the desert. And when you're not in the desert, you're in the city, and things are bustling, and everybody's just, you know, everyone's sending their kids off to college, and it's all this like traditional family structure, and it's like a TV show, and you're like, I need something different. And you move next to this. You move next to this guy. And I'd be lighting a cigarette on the back porch. Hey, Ty, you over there? Yeah, Larry. Come on over, bud. Why don't you try something? And he would this man on the back porch of our apartment had an entire, like, it was a fucking oil refinery. He had this equipment that I couldn't even name him. He's a wizard. He had tubes and pipes, this and that, and he would just cook pounds and pounds and pounds and pounds of dab day after day after day after day. And I would buy weed from him, obviously, but most of the time, he turned out my money. I walked away from a man's house with trash bags filled with fucking weed, right? And I'd just be like, Larry, you want I know I'm not doing that great, but I was just looking for like a dime bag. You give me a trash bag. What the fuck? And he's just like, no. I love you, man. We had a great conversation today. Realistically, it's probably going to rot. I have too much to be like, he was just You know, it was never about the drugs. It was never about what I could get from him, and it was never about what he could get from me. It was just we had a very, very, very special bond that I will never, ever, ever have with anybody else. And that's why this year's hurt. I will never. I can make good friends like Cyprian. I can have a husband who sleeps in the same bed as me every night. I can have my mother who's been there since I was born. But there was just something about him that nobody will ever understand but him. And it's why I will not dismiss him and I will not exclude him from any further conversation on this podcast because we're going to be talking about shooters and occult madness and all that. He is the pinnacle. Not only is he taught me lessons. It took maybe a year into it, but I knew he was with the Freemasons. I knew that he could conjure entities. I knew he could talk to this frequency he called God. I knew that I wanted to be his student. So many people around him wanted to learn how to grow weed, how to sell weed, how to do all this. I wanted his esoteric knowledge. How does someone become like that? How do I become Gandalf? How do I become Dumbledore? How can I preach to the rest of the world that magic is real? But what I learned in due time, especially with this podcast, you don't get to enter that territory without being deemed crazy. You don't get to become a prophet or a shaman. You don't become this high. You just, the more you understand, the crazier you become. But it's not to say you're crazy. When I first interacted with Shamrosh, it wasn't the apparition after I left Antifa. It was in the same apartment complex as when I was living next door to Larry. If you see any of the pictures that I sketched, there's crazy sketches because I drew them like when I was like still tripping, so it's very sketchy and scribbly and all that. But for a while I didn't call it Shamrosh. I called it Jermalcules. And I still don't quite know what to make of that. But when it was ready to reveal itself, it came in due time under a certain set of synchronicities, and it was less direct than a psychedelic manifestation. If that makes sense. But what I believe Jermalcules is, in hindsight, was really just a code, something to send to my mind, something to help activate this entity. All night in my head, Jermalcules. And as I'm hearing the name, I'm seeing smiles, teeth, drool, grins, gums, eyeballs, pupils. It just, there's this one story about this girl, and her father developed something that he believed to be quantum glasses. I believe this was in the early 1900s. And she wore these glasses for such a long period of time that essentially she became crazy. And she had seen things that she wasn't supposed to see. And it was the universe is consuming me. You know, it's devouring me. We're in the middle. Essentially, it all boiled down to her being in the middle of a digestive system, and that's what it felt like for me. Like I was surrounded by the smiles of giants, laughter, the gnashing of teeth, the spinning of eyeballs. It was one of the reasons I know that I have to tune out of psychedelics is because whatever I did along the way, I cannot access psychedelics without gaining access to this code, Germalcules, which in essence is Shamrosh trying to gain access, but which in the end I believe serves a master, which is Baal. Much of what we see in modern day society is Baal worship. Baal and Ashtar, day and night. Sin eternal. It's this thing was sent to lie to me, to trick me. What it told me in my head when it manifested and I saw the gray reptilian form with the Joker paint, it told me that if God went away, that I would go away and it would go away. And essentially, it's hard to even explain it, but essentially that it was the middleman, that it was my creative essence, my muse, and that if I didn't choose to fuel it, God would go away and in essence the universe would go away. So I had to devote myself to this being, to this jinn. If you don't believe it's real, then you can sit here from an outsider's perspective and you can think what the obvious would be. This guy's fucking crazy and he had a trippy trip and he went off the deep end. Maybe. But this thing has communicated with me many times. And what I feel like has happened since the beginning of the channel is I've been in a tug of war between God and Shamrosh. Because Shamrosh gets the credit. This Joker gets the credit. God wanted me on this path, but the devil knew that I would take it. And it's been trying to intercede the entire time.
God damn it. Well, what are you waiting for? Kick the hell out of me and get your standing ovation. Come on!
No, not this time. I don't want to hurt you. I don't want either of us to end up killing the other. But we're running out of alternatives. Perhaps it all hinges on tonight. I don't know what it was that bent your life out of shape, but maybe I've been there too. Maybe we could work together. I could rehabilitate you. You don't need to be alone. We don't have to kill each other. Let me help you.
I'm sorry, but no. No. It's far too late for that. You know, it's funny. This reminds me of a joke. See, there were two guys locked in a lunatic asylum. And one night they decided they didn't like that anymore. They decided to escape. So they made it up to the roof, and there, just across this narrow gap, they see rooftops stretching across town, stretching to freedom. Now, the first guy, he jumps right across, no problem. But his friend, oh, no way. He's afraid of falling. So the first guy, he has an idea. He says, hey, I got this flashlight with me. I'll shine it across the gap between the buildings and you can walk across the beam and join me. But the second guy says, what do you think I am, crazy? You just turn it off when I'm halfway across.
Oh, excuse me.
You must have seen flurries of videos being created by theorists online right now about the mass sighting of clowns appearing, luring children into the woods with money, candy, to do God knows what with them. And these sightings have been growing in number and spreading across, well, America, the UK, and possibly the globe. Why are these clowns appearing? And that has been the question for many people. I think I may have an answer, and the answer lies in the giants of the past. And perhaps this is symbolic of them returning.
Drift, floating, like someone's pulled the stopper on my reality, and I'm sucked down the drain to something new.
It's all very exciting. It's like meeting someone I can actually relate to, which, believe me, I've never felt before. You understand? You're someone who's not afraid to let go and fall.
You left me a black hole of rage and confusion.
It had a plan, you know. It was consciously aware that I could see it too. And I know what the underground psychedelic subculture likes to believe about these jesters. They believe these elf machine jesters are good. And, you know, they will say things to you that are offensive. But they've been told by humans who want to enjoy the psychedelic experience that these things are offending you because they're trying to shatter your ego. You know, they're actually trying to show you not to take things so seriously because everything's going to be okay when you die. You know, sin isn't real. Look at you taking life seriously. Ha ha ha, what fools humans are. And you look at these things just laughing at you, dancing around you. And you've been convinced from the words of man that these things are good and they're just trying to teach you something. But these things attack people.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! Hey, stop! Stop, folks! Stop! Back up!